Hello. 3 years ago, I was sitting here making a video about how I live without a fridge. I was amazed at the amount of curiosity and questions. Some of you were very sceptical, and some of you had some brilliant ideas as well about things that you did in your own houses and how you lived without a fridge. So I'm going to share some of those with you today. I'll mention each thing that people came up with as a problem, and then I'll share some of the ideas that people came up with that might counteract that problem. So the key thing that people mentioned was the fact that they lived somewhere that was too hot and their temperatures were too much, and so they had to have a fridge. The first thing to say is that I heard from people from all over the world, from Africa, Australia, all over, with high temperatures, and various people sharing that they lived without a fridge. They use various methods. It's definitely easier, I think, if you're in a hot, dry country. Like we have a lot of humidity here. And obviously France is not one of the hottest countries in the world by any means. Although our temperatures are increasing and we're getting closer to 40 degrees more often than we were when I came here 13 years ago. But yes, one of the things people did in other countries when it was hot, if you've got a hot, dry climate, you can use an evaporation pot, which really is very simplest. Could be a large earthenware plant pot, and inside it another smaller plant pot, and the space in between is filled with damp sand, and you just keep pouring water on there, just keep that sand damp, and then with the heat and the evaporation, that actually keeps the things inside cooler. There's lots of examples of these, very simple to do. I think there's a make called a Zeer pot, or I noticed some of the people that lived in Africa mentioned Zeer pots, so I'll maybe share a little link to that here. So that was the first thing that came up. And the other thing that people did was they mentioned having a cool slab, which I don't think I covered in my first video. Some people talked about having a marble slab and keeping things cool on that. Just the fact that the slab was cooler helped. And covering things with like butter and stuff with a wet cloth and having that out on the side. So wet cloths seem to feature quite a lot as well as a means of keeping things cool. And having a bucket of water and putting things like maybe milk or whatever, and keeping it in cold water was another idea that a lot of people mentioned. Not having cold drinks. Now, I can totally relate to this. I do like cold drinks sometimes. And one of the things that some people mentioned they did was that they kept, rather than having a fridge, like a big fridge, they made a smaller chiller or had an ice box and just kept ice in it. So you've got a smaller area that you're keeping cool. And they would keep things in there like cold drinks and things, and that was just another way of doing it. So a lot of people were using ice and chillers and just like having a smaller compartment that they kept ice in. A lot of you said that you weren't near shops, and so it was difficult. You couldn't just do like I do and just buy things on a daily basis or every couple of days. You really needed to go somewhere, get a bigger shop that was going to last you a week, and then it was harder to keep those things cool. A lot of things can be kept out of a fridge for a week. Things like yogurts, butter, there's no problem with a lot of it. Cream keeps quite well as well. We buy these little small cartons of cream. We don't really use milk now, but we've got dried milk if we want to use that. We can reconstitute that. But we use cream quite a bit. People shared ideas for using things like, eating more fermented food, things that would store, other ways of storing things basically. So people had different ways of storing food rather than keeping it in the fridge. Another thing you mentioned was medications. A few people mentioned that they need the fridge or somewhere cool to keep their medications. Now, a lot of medication doesn't have to be refrigerated. Insulin, I think, does, but there's lots of medication. It just needs to be kept in a cool, dark place. So check on the box how it says to store it. Don't assume that everything has to go in the fridge, but obviously make sure it's important that you store your medications correctly. So, and what else have I got down here? Oh, leftovers. Yeah, what to do with leftovers? A number of people that said it was a problem. I think there seemed to be quite a thing with people cooking too much on a regular basis. So I think the first thing is trying to just cook the amount that you can use within a day or 2 days. We have a 3-day rule here, but most things we've eaten within 2 days. And they actually keep fine. I mean, our kitchen, I'm in the kitchen now, it is quite a cool room anyway. It's a very solid stone-built house. We've got thick walls. So we're lucky that really, if we don't have heating on in here, it's kind of like a big fridge anyway. So yeah, when we've got leftovers, I keep them in a pan or covered on, sometimes just on the hob or on the surface or in a sealed box with a lid, and things are fine. You've got to be sensible and smell things and look at things. If you're not happy, don't eat it. But I can honestly say we don't throw anything away. We eat everything. So it is possible without a fridge to store leftovers quite safely for 2-3 days. Depends what it is. And like I say, we're vegetarians, so we're not storing meat or fish or anything like that. But like, I've got some cauliflower cheese over there from yesterday, which will be fine today, and would even be fine tomorrow as well. But we've just got out of the way of these things, so that it seems really weird, but it's not actually weird. I think some of the things we do now in terms of sell-by dates and throwing things away because they're past a sell-by date, when actually if you look at it and smell it, it's perfectly all right to eat. That is weird, I think. But that's just my opinion. And some of you said, I don't want to go backwards. So the idea of going from having something and then not having it, sort of feeling like it's a going back in time, it's a going backwards, it's not progress, it's suffering, it's pain. And I can see that, but I don't see it like that for myself. I see it as a choice, and I think we can make a choice to do things differently. It's just sort of thinking, actually, what do I want to do and what works for me? And for a lot of people, it works and it's not so strange. And so I don't think it's about going backwards. I think it's just how you look at things. To me, it's just making a choice to do something differently or to do it in a way that makes sense to me. I think it's about, a lot of it for me is about saving energy. And I know that a lot of the modern fridges are more efficient. So that's a really good thing. But to have something running all the time, and I see it with our solar, because we're connected to a solar system, we're very connected to the sun, we're very connected to the power we've got stored in our batteries. And so we notice what's happening. And certainly if we have a fridge running all the time, we would notice that. So yeah, it's just choices. And my videos and my channel is not about telling people what to do at all. It's just showing alternative ways of doing things, sharing a few ideas, and encouraging people to think for themselves and think, actually, you know, what works for me and what makes sense to me. So it's certainly not about telling people to do things. You do exactly what you want, because we're all in such different situations. And this works for me. There's other things that I do that you won't do. It's not a competition or anything like that. It's about us working our way through our lives and doing the best we can. So, could you live without a fridge? I'd be very interested to know. Let me know in the comments down below. It's always interesting to hear how other people are living, what they're doing, their ideas. Oh, a fun tip that somebody came up with was to put a silver dollar into a bucket of water to help keep things fresh, because apparently their grandfather used to do that. And it's something they've continued to do. But to get a silver dollar, you need one. I think they stopped making them in 1965. But apparently the silver has a sort of antiseptic effect, or antibacterial effect might be the right word. And so it used to stop, if you put it in the water where you were storing something like, I think they maybe were storing butter or something like that, and it would keep it fresh. So that was one idea. And a lot of people moving to smaller fridges as well, just having a smaller one to keep some of the things so you can still have a cold drink, that kind of thing. Anyway, if you like these videos, subscribe. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, as whether you could live without a fridge or not. And I'm sure there'll be some things I've missed as well. You can watch my earlier video about how to live without a fridge. I'll put a link to it up here. And yeah, have a nice day and lots of love. Okay, thank you. Bye.